Watching News at Prime, let's get into this discussion now. The IEC warning that delays in the election timetable could cause a logistical disaster. The body yesterday publishing its timetable ahead of the May vote. A number of parties, including the UDM, ATM and BOSA, are calling on the IEC to extend the deadlines for paperwork and the payments. Parties are worried that there are inadequacies in the overall preparations. Voter education, for example, is one such issue, and the collection of support lists, they say. All right, let's stay with the matter of elections and deal with the so-called voter apathy among young people. Is that a problem that persists, especially among the youth? Well, one third-year student at the Durban University of Technology believes he may have the solution to the question that has been lingering for some time. His name is Ezokuhle Sabelo, and he joins us now. Ezokuhle, good evening to you. And my understanding is that you are a third-year journalism student, which means, naturally, I should worry about my job as soon as you graduate. Let's kick off the conversation with whether or not you are a registered voter, first and foremost, and if you are, what convinced you to want to go and register to vote?
Good evening, Paulie. Thank you for having me. Good evening to the viewers at home. Yes, I am a registered voter. I registered and voted for the first time back in 2021 when I was 18 years old and still in matric. Now, what encouraged me to vote was the hope and the aspirations for a better South Africa, because as a young person, we are constantly told that you are the next generation of South Africans and the future of South Africa lies in your hands. So I knew that I had to play my part, I had to register, and I had to cast my vote back in 2021.
Yeah, so if you understood your power as a young person and that power in relation to voting, if you understand it so well, why then does this view persist that young people are simply uninterested in participating in this country's democracy?
You know what, I think this youth voter apathy label comes from an older generation and possibly the IEC, because I've spoken to an IEC official. It comes from them because it's almost like they're discrediting the power that us as young South Africans possess. And, you know, when you put yourself in a position to lead, you are told that you are either naive or wet behind the ears. So I think that's where it comes from the older generations, who some of them are card-carrying members of political parties who voted on multiple occasions, compared to an 18-year-old sitting in matric who may not even be registered or hasn't voted at all.
You mentioned the IEC. Do you believe that they are doing enough when it comes to voter education and emphasizing the importance of participating in the country's democratic processes? Because if there's one event that one should ever participate in, it is this one of voting.
No, I do not believe the IEC is playing their part in educating voters in South Africa. You know, it's quite easy to just point the fingers at young South Africans and say, oh, you're apathetic or you don't care about voting, when all you can do is create a 30-second video on a social media platform or stand in a street corner and hand out pamphlets, when as your job as the body in charge of educating people about voting it seems to be too hard for you. I would put it simply and say they are failing to educate people. If they were doing their job, we wouldn't have 14 million unregistered young South Africans.
Well, in your article that you penned for the Mail and Guardian, you say that you believe voter education should actually be part of the school curriculum. Why do you think that is going to help change this perception that young people are simply not interested in voting?
Well, we've got a critical subject in life orientation.
Yeah.
And if we start voter education at the lowest level, because if you want to fix a problem, you start at the very lowest level, and that would be at grade 10 level. So you include voter education in the life orientation syllabus. You update the life orientation syllabus, and you make it examinable to the learners. You make them engage in this topic and the subject, because our hopes are to create competent and knowledgeable voters in South Africa, because at the end of the day, our hopes are to grow our democracy, are to grow the biggest voting cohort in the country to be the leaders that we envision them to be. We want them to be the best that they can be. Squeeze as much juice as you can. Create conversant young people who will vote and register to vote passionately and in an informed manner.
The other element of your article deals with what you say is the disconnect between political parties or political party leaders and young people. What is it that you think they are doing wrong that simply does not attract young people to their parties? But I suppose also linked to that question is whether or not they do resonate with young people, or is it that very thing that you said at the beginning, that it's almost the old people or the older generation versus the younger generation?
I think it's one thing. Stick to your promises. If you're going to promise to do A, B, C, and D, please just do it. I believe it's a simple thing. Just stick to your promises and you'll have the young people on your side. If you're going to stray away from your promises, you'll lose them. Because how effective are you as a leader if you can't stick to your promises? We can't trust you as a leader. You're almost 70 years old and you keep telling us, no, you're next. But when you put yourself in a position to lead next, you shove me away. So stick to your promises and you'll have the young people on your side. You know, in New Zealand, they've got the youngest MP who was 22 years old. Now, I'm not too sure, but how often do we have a leader who's probably under the age of 35 in parliament, or a political leader, the leader of a party who is younger than 40 or 35 for that matter? Stick to your promises. Give us a chance to lead. Don't just say, oh no, you are next, but actually give me a chance to lead, because we've shown that we're a capable group of young people. Just because we choose to organize outside formal democratic structures doesn't mean we don't care about voting. Their choice to abstain from voting or registering from voting is a form of expression in itself. Because I'm not happy, they aren't happy with what they've got on offer. If you're not happy with what you've got on offer, then I think anyone would do what young people are doing, abstain from voting.
Let me ask you this final question. We have seen major events taking place in this country and in certain instances led by young people, and these were young people who believed genuinely that they could influence policy making in South Africa, particularly policy making that is going to favor them, favor young people. Fees Must Fall, for example, is one element we have seen. Those protests were led by young people. How effective do you believe they were in influencing the laws so that they favor young people?
Incredibly effective. The fact that we're still talking about it means that they achieved their goal. Hashtag Fees Must Fall. The Palestine and the boycotts against Israel at the end of last year. The NSFAS protest in, I think it started at the University of the Witwatersrand last year. That just proves my point. They are a capable group of young people who prefer organizing outside formal democratic structures. They they are pioneers. They are thought leaders. They have proved themselves that they are ready to be even considered to lead this country. They've left an unbelievable legacy. I think if you compare them to the youth of 76, it could almost reach their same level. The fact that every day we can still talk about Fees Must Fall means that they did something amazing. That an entire group of young people across the country got together with a common goal and they achieved it.
Final question then. The 29th of May is edging ever so close. Your message to young people and perhaps your message to the IEC on how they can help bridge that gap. You've criticized them that they are lacking in certain instances, particularly in attracting young people. What's your message to young people, at least those that are registered to vote? Because now that time of encouraging them to come out and register, that's come and gone now. It's now about getting them out there to vote on voting day.
Okay, I'll start with the IEC. IEC needs to come to the party. You know, you've got life orientation, you've got the Department of Basic Education. The Department of Basic Education can send teachers out on workshops for mathematics, English home language, physical science, and biology. Do the same thing with life orientation because it's available to you. And to the young people, make the right decision, make an informed decision for a greater South Africa and a South Africa that you would be proud to raise your children in and one that you can be glad to call home.
Ezokuhle, Sabelo, let me thank you very much for your time. He's a third-year journalism student at DUT, and I strongly believe that one day he's going to be sitting on this desk. I fear that I may be out of the job.